Only a week ago, the union was worried some Holden workers could be forced to take separation packages. Now it's confident the car maker's redundancy target will be met.
By the end of July, Holden will be able to achieve 400 people taking the VSP, and there'll be no need for any forced redundancies.
It's a good thing if those redundancies are voluntary, but it's also important that those workers have something to go to. And so we're going to be continue to work very closely with Holden about those workers.
Despite the potential of further job losses and pay cuts, Holden's Elizabeth factory is working an overtime shift this weekend for the first time in more than 2 years. Lake Eyre in flood is a natural wonder, attracting thousands of tourists. But it's also a site said to be sacred in local Aboriginal culture. Now the traditional owners want to change the name back to its traditional Indigenous name, Kaditunda.
We want them to recognise the first name, the original name from the first people. It's the right thing to do.
The state government says there's a range of options, including dual naming rights, but the decision lies with the Geographical Names Board.
It just needs to be weighed up with the other interests as well. Obviously Lake Eyre has some important historical connections to European settlement, and others may think that that's an important thing to retain.
The usually dry Lake Eyre has now flooded 4 years in a row, attracting wildlife and thousands of tourists. The Arabana people now want to work with the tourism industry so more people can experience the region. Fungal diseases like downy mildew and botrytis can destroy a vintage. Wet conditions last year caused some of the highest levels of infection in the past 20 years.
The impact of that was quite severe, and we had a lot of growers contacting us complaining about neighbours who had effectively stopped working their vineyards because of the downturn in the industry.
The value of grapes, wine and tourism in McLaren Vale alone is estimated at nearly $1 billion a year. Growers say stricter management of these vines will protect the industry into the future. The state government says it's looking into the most appropriate response. Nicola Gage, ABC News, McLaren Vale. The festivities started a short time ago with a multicultural parade starting in Victoria Square and snaking its way up King William Street. Thousands of people lined the streets to catch a glimpse of some of the floats, and there was also marching bands. The concert is well underway here in Elder Park. There'll be performances from Australian dance band the Potbellies and also Adelaide singer Wes Carr. The Adelaide City Council is expecting record crowds down here. There's plenty of time to bring the kids along, and the fireworks display will be on at 9:45. From writing to walking to playing sport, 14-year-old Emily Bryant struggles with arthritis every day. She was diagnosed with the condition at 18 months.
She went from basically walking to limping to not walking at all, so that was in with a space of about 2 or 3 days.
Just aching a lot in my knees mostly, and it's hard to get out of bed sometimes.
While the study is focused on children with arthritis, the findings could also lead to more targeted treatments for adults. For Emily, who has 3 injections a week and a tablet a day, the research could reduce her medication.
It would be a lot easier, I think, on not just me, but my mum, who's giving me my injections.
The study is now expanding to include more patients. Nicola Gage, ABC News, Adelaide. Hundreds were watching the replica Spitfire fly over Parafield Airport just after 2 o'clock before the plane dipped below the horizon.
I saw it disappear behind the trees, and there's trees at the back of the airfield, and I thought, well, it's too low to pull out, and I thought it must have crashed.
It's lucky that it was in a car park, an isolated closed-off car park as compared with the sporting grounds over the road.
The Air Transport Safety Bureau will now begin the task of working out what caused the crash, with police to remain on scene through the night. Nicola Gage, ABC News, Salisbury.